lecture. I'm pleased to introduce to you Dr. Ivan Vranić, a senior research associate at the Institute of Archaeology in Belgrade. Ivan Vranić's main research interests are the Southeastern European Iron Age and archaeological theory. In the capacity of the long-term collaborator and from 2012 a director of the research project of excavation of the site Kale-Krševica in southeastern Serbia, he published numerous papers re-examining the local Iron Age populations' social, political, and economic interrelation with the classical and Hellenistic Greek world. In his recent book titled Hellenization in a New Key, Consumption of Greek Glazed Ware, Entanglement and Culture Changes at Kale-Krševica, southeastern Serbia from 5th to 3rd century BC, he explores the production, distribution, consumption, and discarding practices related to the several thousand late classical and early Hellenistic Greek glazed pots discovered at the Kale-Krševica. Within the same research work, Ivan provides a theoretically more updated and more nuanced understanding of the process of Hellenization, which would be applicable in interpreting other situations and sites with visible cultural changes resulting from the contacts with objects of foreign origin. Today, we have the opportunity to hear some of Ivan's insights into the social transformation that the Iron Age inland Balkans communities experience through their interaction with the classical and Hellenistic Greek world. We will also explore how applying the theoretically more up-to-date concepts of Hellenization can provide new interpretive perspectives on the Iron Age in the southeastern Europe. With that said, I wish you to enjoy the lecture, and now I invite Ivan to take the floor.
Thank you, Zorica, and thank you all for joining. The title of my presentation is Cultural Changes and Hellenization in the Iron Age Inland Balkans, a case study of Kale-Krševica. There are 2 or 3 main topics that I would like to discuss with you. The most prominent is cultural changes, and specifically something called Hellenization, which is a versatile theoretical concept applied in archaeology and history with different meanings, from becoming Greek or really becoming Greek to various different forms of identity changes which are more acceptable today about social changes which are perceived to be more complex than previously believed to be. The other topic is the Iron Age of the hinterland of the Balkan Peninsula, which is an interesting topic which isn't well known in the global archaeological literature, and all of that I will try to present to you with a case study of the site Kale-Krševica, which is located in the southern or southeastern Serbia. So the Iron Age, broadly speaking, we need to say something about chronology. So in the western parts of the Balkans, we apply or try to apply chronology, which is similar to the Iron Age chronology in the Central Europe. So it's the early Iron Age should begin from the Hallstatt Sea, which is usually dated around 800 BC. There is, of course, the Hallstatt D, which is the second stage of the early Iron Age. And there is the late Iron Age, which is related to the ancient Celts and their supposed migration and spreading of culture to the south of the Europe. There is a transitional period, which some authors believe to be part of Bronze Age. Others argue that it's Iron Age, which corresponds to the Hallstatt A and Hallstatt B in the central Central European chronology. And broadly speaking, the Iron Age is understood as a transitional period, something that stands between prehistory and history, between less complex and complex societies. So it has this evolutionary flavor. Some would argue that it is some kind of proto-historic period. So it's interesting for numerous contacts between various cultures and societies, between the continental regions, with the Mediterranean, with the East, etc., etc. So this is some basic chronological aspects of the Iron Age in the Balkans. Of course, when we talk about influences and supposed reasons for cultural changes, there are, traditionally speaking, there are few possible centers of those influences. Ancient Greece, of course, pre-Roman Italian peninsula, or before that, some contacts with the Eastern societies from modern-day Ukraine or Southern Russia. In the beginning, from the 4th century, there is this Celtic presence or supposed Celtic influences. So it is a complex period and complex social scene, which could be interpreted from various perspectives. Speaking about theory of the Iron Age archaeology and theoretical basis for the interpretations, most of the interpretations are culture historical in nature, in essence. This means that we try to define archaeological cultures as sets of specific forms of material culture. And if those objects and those structures appear on some broader territory, we then proceed to determining whether it is some kind of collective identity, whether it is a people or a tribe, ethnicity, or whatever. And since we are talking about the region which is close to the Greek and Roman world, there are numerous written sources which could be used to find the names for those supposed peoples and tribes from the past. And of course, as I said in a previous slide, we try to understand how their cultures change. Usually the method used for this is the concept of cultural diffusion, meaning that some cultural traits could spread from more advanced toward to some other societies, which would willingly accept those influences and became more prosperous in a way. So in this scenario, some local communities and local cultural groups are defined, and then the archaeologists would try to explore and to follow their local evolution, trying to understand how far in the past we can trace those cultures and those peoples, and try to, which is very, very common in cultural historical archaeology, try to establish continuity as far into the past as possible. And during the early 20th century, in archaeology, there was this strict difference between Western parts of the Balkans, which are perceived to be Illyrian, and the Eastern, which should be Thracian or belong to ancient Thrace. And this is how archaeological disciplines in former Yugoslavia and Bulgaria developed. But during the course of time, with advancement in archaeological excavations and researches, and the focus on local differences, there were more and more local communities and local tribes, mostly, as they are called, that are discovered and established on some kind of archaeological map. This is the most prominent map of the Iron Age societies, made by Fanoula Papazoglou in her book about Paleo-Balkan tribes. So during the course of time, it wasn't strictly Illyrian West and Thracian East in the Balkans, but the context became more and more complicated with different tribes and ethnicities like Dardanians, Kordisci, Tribali, Mezi, other Illyrian tribes to the west, mostly Autariati, Ardiei, etc., etc. So this is the development of the short introduction to the development of Iron Age archaeology in the Balkans. Yet there is some other forms of archaeological material and cultures located in the Balkans, which are a little bit different from the picture that I presented to you previously. And these sites, which are located in Bulgaria, in Northern Macedonia, and in the coastal region of the Adriatic, they are a little bit different from everything else that I talked about in the previous slides. And what is the difference is that the material culture it appears Greek or Greek-like. And it is not just about objects like pottery and things of that nature, but it refers also to the architecture, especially defensive architecture, ramparts, other buildings, etc., which are built with some very thorough knowledge of Greek architectural principles. And what is striking is that these settlements and these forms of material culture are very similar on a broad territory from the northern Aegean all the way to the inland Bulgaria, northern Macedonia, parts of Albania, and of course the region on the seaside of the Adriatic. And beginning in the 5th century BC, maybe even in the 6th century, Bulgarian archaeologists have defined this period called late Iron Age of ancient Thrace, when these settlements are very prominent. In North Macedonia, they use a little bit different terminology, but the material culture is the same. And this period is called early historic period, meaning that they believe that that region has already stepped into the historical period at that moment. And of course, there is the ancient Macedonia, the proper Macedonia, to the north of the Aegean, and its northern border, before Philip II, after his conquests, after Alexander the Great and his wars in the Balkans. So we have a very complex local setting, cultural setting, which is not thoroughly explained. And what is the most striking to me is the overall similarity of the material culture and the differences in names and in terminology, in chronology, which can somehow mask that overall similarity of the material culture, which I will try to present to you in future in some next slides. On this slide, you can see those sites that I called Hellenized, but they are, in this case, they are believed to be Paeonian, but I won't go into the ethnicity issues at this moment. But those sites that are built according to some Greek knowledge or know-how from Northern Macedonia and from Southern Serbia. They are equally numerous in Bulgaria, but I didn't put them all on map. They are common in Montenegro, just a second. So they are equally common in Bulgaria and on the seaside of the Adriatic. When talking about the most prominent ones, they come from modern-day Bulgaria with some known names of those settlements like Helis, Sevtopolis, Kabile, Pistiros, Philippopolis, etc. Here is Kale-Krševica, which will be our case study today, Bila Zora in northern Macedonia, and some settlements belonging to ancient Macedonia in the southern region of the northern Macedonia and northern Greece. So these sites are very, very common. They are numerous, and I believe they are not known enough in the archaeological literature. When speaking about landscape and site locations, most of the sites are hilltop sites, and there are some similarities between them, considering their location and some other aspects of the local landscape. So the most numerous are hilltop sites. There are also some mountaintop sites, which are some believe related to some early Hellenistic period army activity with some watchtowers and things like that. And in some regions, especially in Bulgaria and to some extent in the northern Macedonia, they are lowland supposed central places, because some of them are bigger than others, but some of them aren't. It's still not well known what was the social structure of these sites, but it seems that there are some very prominent similarities considering the site's location. Now we shall proceed to the site of Kale-Krševica, which will be the case study today. It's located in the southeastern Serbia, and as the other sites that I mentioned previously, it's located on a hilltop, which is here. And from here, the site spread from the late 5th century BC and covered some parts of these slopes of this hill, and eventually most likely in the late 4th or more probably in the early 3rd century, a completely new segment of the site, which we labeled the suburbium, was added to the site at the foot of the hill. And this is how the Acropolis looks like from the valley. And it's, as you can see, it's a good place for protection, but it's not that far away. So it's easily accessible and yet provides some serious defensive possibilities when needed. After years of excavation at the top of that hill that was labeled the Acropolis under quotation marks, were discovered numerous structures, different structures, different houses. Stratigraphy is really complex. It's difficult to determine what was added, what was built in the first place. So it appears really, really complex and complicated. And yet, from the finds discovered there, we determined that the earliest structures were built most likely at the end of the 5th century BC, and that it lasted till the first half or first decades of the 3rd century. And this is how the architecture looked like. So it's broken stone walls, but we discovered something like this, which was unusual at the moment, and I will go back to the issue of the ashlars in a few slides. And so the architecture at the Acropolis was complicated. The terrain was cascading, so the builders followed that natural slopes and building different walls and different structures. Some were really symmetrical, but it appeared as various building phases and activities took place for a long period of time, something like this. And the Acropolis was surrounded by a rampart about 2.5 meters wide, built in this technique. And it was probably built in the late 5th century BC. The face of that wall looks like this. And this is a short history of the hilltop of the Kale-Krševica site. Yet the excavations after a few years were conducted at the foot of the hill, at the so-called suburbium, where we discovered something completely different. First, at the beginning, we couldn't understand what really took place there. Besides that we had something called the Greek walls, or the ashlar build ramparts, usually in the implekton technique, meaning that some of these blocks are facing inside the wall. And what was besides this architecture, there was a lot of water, underground water, coming from everywhere, and the pumps were needed. They were working constantly in order to provide possibility for excavations. So over the course of years of excavations, it became more and more complicated. We discovered this that we labeled a cleft. It appears to be a connection of two ramparts that were robbed. Here on this photo, you can see how the northern face of this wall was robbed. The same thing happened here on this side. And at this moment, it started to appear that it has something to do with water, but we were not sure at that moment. This is how it looks from top. There was this platform here, which we wouldn't able to understand what it was for. This is how that cleft looked like. After a few years of excavations, we ended up with this. So the two walls merging here, there was this platform which was robbed on this side. On this side, it wasn't, but and it continues this way with this massive structure with these grooves and sockets that could probably be a tower or maybe a bastion or something like that, with wooden and maybe mud bricks supporting it. And that water-related finds were discovered everywhere, like these two stone wash basin stands or this thing. There was this spout here that wasn't excavated, but it's obvious that it's somehow water-related. The northern face of that platform had these openings, which would also be water-related. This is a close look of one of these. And this was what we discovered in a few 3 or 4 years of excavations. After that, this was discovered, which was a complete surprise. This is a barrel vaulted structure, 10 meters long and 6 meters wide, with 2 openings on top of the vault, located to the south of that platform that I showed to you in previous slides. One of the openings on top of that vault looked like this. So there were dovetail clamps fixed in lead, and this deep groove, most likely from from rope and for pooling water in buckets, which probably left mark there. This is how it looked during the excavations. So those 2 walls and the cleft is here. water poured on this. Some openings were here on this side, at least on those that were recovered. There were no openings, only on this side. One wall was here. These are less than 3 meters wide. Eventually, another wall was discovered here. You will see that in future slides. This is how it looks from another angle. The northern face of that building. And as you may know, barrel vaults are designed to withstand enormous pressure from top. So a buttressing is needed on this, especially in these parts of the vault. So this is one of the proofs that the vault was covered with something, most likely with earth, with sand or something. And it was designed to be accessible only through the openings. Of course, when we first discovered this, it was possible, it was logical to expect that this was a burial chamber, because burial chambers, ancient Macedonian burial chambers, looks like this, but we haven't found any evidence of that. It appears that this is water related. This is from another angle. So those two openings, this one is complete. The other had a slab here to cover it, which was found inside. This is how we believe that this reservoir was used. So around it was these various pits and dozens of bread ovens. So it was most likely used for producing food on a large scale. The excavations, we were excavating inside. Unfortunately, we're not able to empty it completely because the amount of water was enormous and pumps were not able to get rid of that water completely, and it became dangerous. So, but this is how, as much as we could excavate, we did some coring, some drilling, and it appears to be 6 meters from the vault to the bedrock. And it seems that these walls are somehow they are cut into the bedrock for stability reasons. And it appears that there was a wooden platform here, and that when the levels of water wasn't too high, you could enter it. And of course, you could use buckets, as we saw on the previous slides. This is about construction during how it was constructed. This is that wall of that platform, robbed on top, but here it was preserved. There is this another wall here. This is a cross section. Not really precise because this wall is as deep as this structure, but you will get the idea. This is the final wall, the third wall that was curved, most likely to withstand the pressure of that enormous amount of water there. And these slits and openings most likely were used to let some excess water out, most likely, if that's the reason why this wall was curved. And we were not able to preserve it and to make it accessible to people. So it had to be covered. We were hoping that it would be this would be enough to stop the water from rising, but it wasn't. So eventually it was covered completely. So you cannot see anything if you visit the site at this moment. Now we go back to this plan. I will try to explain a little bit more. So this, most likely, this entire segment of the site was built around 300 BC. The reasons why we believe that it's 300 BC, because here is one of these pits cut into the bedrock. We found Alexarus, I think his name is, Cassandra's brother from Uranopolis, coin, that one with a sphere, if somebody is good in numismatics, and it dates to 300. And this was covered, in order for the entire thing to work, function, it was covered with that material that was used, that was cut from these slopes, from this stone. This is bedrock, soft bedrock, but bedrock, and it was cut, and what was excavated there was thrown here, and that coin was found below it. So it seems that when this platform was made, and it was made to make this reservoir accessible, and for the entire things to work. During that process, that coin was lost here. So how did it work? We're not definitely sure about it, but it seems that some water, maybe rainfall, maybe some lost spring was on the slopes here, and that water flown through here, pouring on this platform, and the openings were made only on this side. Here, there were no openings. Those wash basin stands were discovered here. That spout is here, that we have no idea what was it for. It was here. So this is one segment. The other, it seems that this area here was designed to somehow to collect the groundwater, and most likely to make some filtration with all those layers of sand and gravel and everything that was needed to cover this reservoir. And the excess water exited through the entire system through those slits here in this wall, which is curved like this. And it's tentative. We are not definite that this was the case because excavations were not finished, but it appeared at this moment, it appeared like this. And about the architecture of the walls, this is a reconstruction from a colleague of ours from Bulgaria, Emil Nankov. So this is typical Macedonian and ancient Greece building technique with ashlars at the lower sections and mud brick walls with some wooden frameworks. We discovered enormous amounts of roof tiles, which are circumstantial evidence of walls of this nature. And we discovered dozens of these stone artillery projectiles. They are also common in Hellenistic period armies, with something like Roman ballistas sitting here, used for defensive. And I forgot to tell you about the inside of this vault. It was deliberate of this barrel vaulted reservoir. It was deliberately filled with stones of various kinds, with blocks. And what was interesting is that inside we found 10 horses and, if I remember correctly, 12 dogs, complete skeletons of 10 horses and 12 dogs. So it appeared that it was deliberately polluted, if you like, that source of water. So this is how the walls look like. Now I will tell you something about the object, the material culture that was discovered. Most of the finds from the earlier layers and the earlier phases of the settlement at the Acropolis, at the hilltop, are from the early 4th century. Some are from the very end of the 5th century. So they are red figure pottery, transport amphorae, and various other imports like this, starting from the St. Valentin pottery, Attic pottery. This is most likely Fat Boy group. And during the course of years, and maybe for 150 years, this communication existed. So some other forms of pottery appeared, like this early Veslope. So this is early 3rd century, also Attic pottery. So it was well supplied with Greek pottery, not just at Attic, but some other centers. This could maybe be from the northern Aegean. We don't know definitely. There are various forms of imported pottery, various forms of local pottery. Some are maybe local attempts to produce a red figure, maybe not, maybe Northern Aegean. We are not sure. Speaking about transport amphorae, this one, if I remember correctly, is from 370 BC. They are Thasian stamps, transport amphoraes. Yet there are other shapes, different shapes. It was rich in bronze finds as well, the site. So Thracian fibulae, other items, rings, stamping rings, bronze vessels, other objects. This was probably a scale, weights, some of them with this E, which is important for these sites, as you will see when we go into the local everyday pottery. Other bronze vessels. So it is a really rich site. Now, when we come to the local everyday pottery, there are hundreds of thousands of sherds of these kinds of pottery. This is called gray ware or gray Hellenized ware or something like that. It depends on the literature, whether it's from Bulgaria or from former Yugoslavia. So the shapes are Greek, yet there are some, of course, local differences. Loom weights are very common, again, with this E, stamped lunar epsilon, which we believe was some kind of a local production mark or something like that. These are some drawings of that pottery. So besides the imported shapes in the red figure and early Hellenistic period, Attic and Northern Aegean items, the local production was looking like this. And it is on a large scale. So number of discovered pottery is really high. At the end of the 2nd century BC, the site was abandoned already, and in the late 2nd century and during the 1st century BC, it was used by some population using Latin material culture, yet the site was abandoned and there were some pits filled with pottery. So during excavations, it looked like this. So what I was trying to present is that this complex history of the site of Kale-Krševica from the late 5th till the early 3rd century, when it was used in its original form, and then in the 2nd and 1st century it was used by well, the remains, the abandoned settlement was used by some populations using other forms of material culture. Now we will shortly go into some kind of discussion. What is most, when we try to put it in context, it appears that first, Kale-Krševica it's unique in Serbian territory, but it's not unique the sites of this nature are very, very common in modern-day Bulgaria, in northern Macedonia, of course, in northern Greece. I think that their material culture is very similar, and that in archaeological literature, we do not speak enough about those similarities, mostly because of that culture historical nature of our discipline, which tries to discover Odrysian state in modern day Bulgaria, or Paeonians in Yugoslav Macedonia. So we were trying to find more and more differences, which are not that easy to discover in the material culture. Of course, there is the other perspective, which focuses on ancient Greeks and Macedonians, and sometimes it's colonial in nature, speaking about Greek inland migrations, and of course about Macedonian conquests, Macedonian imperialism after Philip II. So in this first group of the supposed Greek inland colonies, which is really unusual if we understand Greek society as we do as a maritime society, but there are interpretations of some of the sites being Greek colonies. One of them is the issue of the Mastion, which was the interpretation of Kale-Krševica proposed by Petar Popović, who excavated that site for almost 20 years. We discovered a few Damascene coins in the near vicinity and one Pelagia at the site. Of course, these are also from the nearby locations. This is a Paeonian king of Delon, and this was discovered at the Acropolis of the Krševica, which is Deronikon, which is highly unusual coin, because the Deronikons are earlier. This one is from the late 4th century, and it's a small piece, and the Deronikons are from the earlier time. So this one is unusual. So what I was trying to say is that when some of these sites are excavated thoroughly, it's not uncommon for some researchers to try to find Greeks or Macedonians there, because they appear Hellenized or Greek, if you like. But on the other hand, as we excavate more and more sites, it appears that they are very numerous, and it is highly unlikely that all of that was result of either Macedonian conquest or something taking place before that. So it seems that we need to find some different understandings for that from that material culture similarities. So traditionally, Hellenization is perceived as evolution, as path toward civilization and historical period. It is most prominent, of course, in the East and after the Alexander's conquest, but as we saw in this presentation, something like that probably happened in the Balkans prior to that. And if we follow the development of archaeology as a discipline and theoretical changes, this is not a good starting point for interpretation, because things appear to be more complex than that. That a local community could simply become Greek or Greek-like. Of course, Philip II and his conquest was important segment of that, which led to some hypotheses that event in the Balkans, especially in Bulgaria, was so important that the local societies afterward became something similar to the Hellenistic monarchies in the East, which is also a problematic perspective. And a few centuries later, the entire region was conquered by the Romans, and we know that Roman conquest meant a different thing in the regions that in ancient Greece or in the east and in the west. So generally speaking, it's really complicated when we try to understand the social aspects of these material culture similarities on a broad region from the northern Aegean to the central Bulgaria, or even to some cases almost to the banks of the Danube. How this could be tackled and understood maybe in a better way is first to try to understand the local meaning of that Greek or Greek-like material culture, and trying to understand why would a local community make like, I don't know, hydria, producing hydrias at the local pottery workshop. So whether it meant the same. I'm not sure that the same material culture means the same social things behind it. So there are different theoretical aspects and tools today that can be used to understand this issue. Some of them are consumption studies. There is this recent thing called the ontological turn or actor network theory. Of course, we should always pay attention to the post-colonial or to the colonial nature of archaeology in general, and try to be post-colonial to understand that differences and possible pitfalls of when talking about what is civilized and what is not. So it's a really complex context that should be approached from different perspectives. One of the known way to do that, known from the 80s, is status identity. Maybe, well, there are some interpretations that argue that the reason why this material culture, especially in the late 4th and early 3rd century, why this local material culture appears Greek is the process of enlisting local men into Philip and later Alexander's army and taking them to the east, and that lasted for several decades, and that maybe when returning home, these guys were they had their own understanding of how the world works and what's the some specific material culture, what it could be used for. So one interpretation is that some of these sites are maybe central places or some status centers for retired mercenaries. Of course, it appears that there are too many of them, so I'm not sure that it would be easy to label all of these sites to be just like that. In recent literature, there is this concept of heterarchy, which is in a way an argument against the importance of status in archaeology, saying that if we focus only on status, then we are losing everybody else, and that we do not follow the complete ancient society, which was in a way connected. So as a way forward, I'm not sure what I would argue is the best way. But what is the most striking is that northern border of ancient Macedonia, from my perspective, is not easy to locate, because the material culture is very, very similar to the north. And that's it from me. Thank you.